Melissa McHugh McGrath.
Melissa is this amazing dog trainer, podcaster, and author in Somerville, Massachusetts.
I train humans so their dogs are happy and well-behaved.
And I'm Sip Sipperstein.
Sip is a dragon veterinarian in Oakland, California.
Yep, that's right. I'm a doctor for bearded dragons and bunnies and birds and other critters.
And you've just landed in
Totally Pawsome,
an animal podcast for adults.
The show's called Totally Pawsome. Get it? Pawsome.
Each episode, Sip and I will use our combined expertise to share amazing animal stories, give you an inside peek into our professions, go deep-ish into animals in the news, and maybe even reveal some tips that you'll be glad to know if you have pets at home.
A stew of the practical and the just plain silly.
It's a Zootopia party, and we are determined to have some fun. Shh, we are not going to watch our language.
We're letting our hair down.
You just don't know what we might say, so hide your children. Unless your kids are cool with fish orgies, raccoon dog testicles that magically grow into enormous sizes, and us swearing like sailors.
It's your call, folks.
What is the most inappropriate, like keeping people's names out of it, obviously, but what's the most inappropriate?
I've got it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even finish the question. I am excited.
So this is years ago. A client came to me with his dog having some sort of skin issue. And then he starts talking about this skin issue he's having.
Oh, no.
Only it's on his upper thigh, and he's wearing like those basketball shorts that are really, really loose. So they're long but loose.
No.
But then he hikes up the shorts so far up.
No!
I won't even say there wasn't anything left to the imagination. Imagination left the train station.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't say you need to see your own doctor about that fast enough. And turning my head, whipping my head away from the field of view of his exposed crotch. Yeah. So he apparently had a rash high up.
Oh my God.
That I was not planning to help him with.
Okay. You know what? This was my fault. I started to ask the question.
You brought it up. And I'll be honest. I don't think he was trying to be inappropriate. I really think he was clueless and wasn't paying attention to how much one could see with basketball shorts cinched up. I don't think he was trying to flash me.
I don't think most people do, but it's still not okay. So for the record, listeners, your skin, your doctor.
Well put.
You're welcome.
I think on that note, perfect place to, we're ready to launch into the show.
Can't wait.
We've had a long year where we have all heard the word COVID way more than any of us would like. And our whole lives have been totally disrupted by this disease.
Speak for yourself.
The context...
Sorry.
It's been one long party for you. In the context of all these news stories, one animal has been brought up the most as being, let's say, implicated in COVID, coronavirus, COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, all the same thing. Do you know what animal that is?
Anteater? Bandicoot. Elephant.
Nice try.
I live in a closet.
So there's one animal that's been brought up a lot in the context of this virus, and it is bats.
Bats. Got it.
I want to talk about bats. Amazing, amazing bats, as well as bats and SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, which people have just been calling COVID.
Right. Yeah.
I went to Dr. Jonathan Epstein, who's the vice president of science and outreach for EcoHealth Alliance. Now, that's an organization, it's a science-based nonprofit focused on stopping pandemics. That's what they do.
So they have been pretty bored the last year.
Yeah, they've had nothing to do. They've just been twiddling their thumbs. They've been studying bat viruses for 20 years. Dr. Epstein is what you call a virus hunter, and he does research in the lab. He goes out into the field, into the jungles with a machete. He catches bats, takes blood samples, wing web samples, and releases the bats back into, their happy lives. But tracking various viruses, that is what he does. That's his world. He also happens to be my best friend from vet school.
Aww.
So it was a really an easy interview to get.
Virus hunter. Why is that not a Netflix show?
Oh, it's certainly been the name of some documentaries. I want to talk a little bit first about bats as bats, minus this whole virus thing. Whether you're someone who thinks they are creepy and they give you nightmares, or they're little adorable flying doggies, which is how I feel about them. I think they're amazing and amazing looking, and there's so many different types of bats. They are just amazing creatures. First of all, they are true flying mammals, which alone is just wild and cool. They eat fruits, which makes them into pollinators and dispersers of seeds. They're actually responsible for a half of the world's rainforests.
Whoa. Wait. Wow.
Yeah, because of their eating fruit and dispersing seeds, and then
you mean
without
poop.
them,
because I'm like, I eat fruit, and no one has told me that I am responsible for half of the world.
I was going to be polite and not go there, but fine.
Girl, do you listen to our own intro?
But also as pollinators, they're absolutely necessary in the pollination of flowers on plants that produce fruits. They're also tremendous insect eaters. They eat thousands of tons of insects, and especially those that damage crops that we're trying to grow. As it turns out, they're actually protecting our crops. So if you got the creepies from bats, try to remember that we really, really, really need them, and they're essential to our survival. But it is true that they are really good reservoirs for disease. And then the question becomes, why are they reservoirs for, in this case, we're going to talk mostly about viruses. I mean, this is a really interesting area. They're associated with a lot of viruses that are really, really bad for us and that we don't have good resistance to, that a lot of other mammals don't have good resistance to. Those include some that people may not have heard of, like Nipah virus, which in some other parts of the world people have because it's killed people.
Oh, my God.
But SARS, Ebola, rabies, and possibly COVID. Okay?
Oh.
This is still being investigated. They've been kind of given the slam dunk, you gave us COVID in the media. But the truth is there's more investigation that needs to be done to make that tie directly.
I mean, they thought that the rats did the Black Plague, but it was actually human fleas that was the main vector.
Once you have the T-shirt with the big rat image that says,
oh my God, I love
tour.
That shirt. It was like Black Plague tour of 1340 or whatever it was.
Yeah, right. How do you get that out of your head?
The world tour.
So there are a number of reasons why bats are good at harboring viruses like COVID or coronaviruses. So I'm going to make a distinction. There are lots of different types of coronaviruses.
Right.
And then there's the SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19.
The specific mutation of a coronavirus that led to the virus that we are just now emerging from, like the cicadas after a 17-year.
Like the cicadas,
right.
Exactly. So it's true that they carry a lot of viruses, that these viruses can be spread through bats. But for some reason, when bats are infected with a lot of these viruses, they don't, quote, like break a sweat. So why are they so good at this? Why are they getting infected and not getting really, really sick?
Wait, what do you mean by break a sweat? Do you mean like they get sick but they don't show symptoms of an illness, or that
they may not show any symptoms or even feel ill? They may not feel ill from getting infected with many of these viruses.
Why can't we just do that?
I know.
That seems like we should be blaming ourselves for our own weaknesses instead of blaming bats for giving it to us. This is our fault.
So the reason that, that they may be good at spreading and continuing the lives of these viruses can have to do with their lifestyle. They tend to live in colonies that are much like densely populated cities. They may live in colonies that live in the same spaces with other colonies of bats that are not the exact same species or subspecies. So it's easier for the virus to get around and spread, right? And they can act as reservoirs for those viruses. And that's just part of the story. Their immune systems are not well understood. And really only in the last 10 years have people been able to go much deeper into how their immune systems work. Bats have been studied for decades, but this thing where they can get these viruses and not seem to get sick in many cases is a newer area of study. And we're learning new aspects of their immunology, how their immune systems work and fight things. And there are basically 3 major groups in Singapore, Australia, and in Colorado in the U.S. that are really working at this research.
Okay.
I think this all points to the fact that bats are not we can't compare them directly to most other mammals. They just are different in some very cool ways. So one thing is they seem to be missing genes that are responsible for a certain inflammatory pathway. So we need inflammation to fight infections, but because of their lifestyle, they need to not fight them the same way. Being a flying mammal means that they're burning a lot of energy, and they can't afford to have their bodies overheating in certain ways because that could be damaging.
See, when you said inflammation was something that they couldn't do because it would make it harder for them to be batty and do bat things, I was imagining just the amount of inflammation to kill a virus, or to help an injury at its site, sending the white blood cells to wherever it needs to go.
That's another way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically that the process that most mammals use to fight disease, like fever, is fundamentally damaging at the cell level. And bats have adapted to not have that same type of inflammation that would interfere in, as you say, their battiness and doing bad things.
Those are technical terms.
Yes. That instead they use other processes to keep these viruses in check and to clear them. So instead, they have what we call upregulated their innate immune system, where our bodies are kind of waiting until something comes along and then it goes, oh, shit, need to fight that virus I have. Their bodies kind of have everything switched on ahead of time. So when the virus hits, the body's already has the guards, shooting before the enemy arrives. Okay?
Oh my God.
And as a result, they can clear these viruses basically with not a whole lot of hoopla. Okay. And if they aren't experiencing disease while they're infected, they can go about their business while fighting the virus.
That seems to take a lot of energy, or it seems like it would take a lot of energy to do that.
Isn't that interesting? Somehow it just works for them. That's less energy than getting a bad fever to fight it and taking longer to clear the virus. Now keep in mind, a lot of these viruses, the bats have probably evolved with. So they've evolved together. They can end up with this acute infection, but then they get rid of it within a week or so. It might linger in their body in smaller amounts, but maybe not enough to be shedding it. But if the bat's immune system's suppressed, it's stressed, let's say in a food market somewhere, in a cage, or it's injured, or it's fighting some other infection, then they may just start shedding this virus all over the place, right? The gist is really that we get sick from these bat viruses when we get into contact with them or we're allowing our food sources to get exposed to bats, bat saliva, bat urine.
So it is our fault.
Honey, it's always our fault. It is absolutely our fault.
Yay!
So the good part of that is that there's more we can do about it. It's not like we're going about our day minding our own business and we get infected. It's that we've encroached on their territory. We have done things to get into their grills and get ourselves infected. And if we can point out to ourselves how we're doing that, we can avoid that exposure. We can avoid our fruit crops from being, right under where they poop and pee. We can avoid having them in food markets where they're shedding virus all over every other animal nearby. And that's where I'm referring to China, where it's considered very acceptable to eat a lot of different species of animals that we don't eat here in the U.S. and aren't eaten in a lot of European countries. So,
which makes me think of a new T-shirt to kind of rival the one of the Black Plague rat one.
Yeah.
Humans, we've been doing this to ourselves since 1348.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Okay, we're making the T-shirt. We're going to be really rich. What's really interesting from an immunologic standpoint and a virus evolution standpoint is that the first real SARS coronavirus found in bats was back in 2003. By 2012, they had discovered some colonies of bats living together. And when they found more coronaviruses in them, they could trace out pieces like jigsaw puzzle pieces from those viruses that matched that original coronavirus from 2003.
Whoa.
So they could say, oh, there's a piece of that one in this one. And then this other virus, there's a piece of that one that matches that coronavirus that we found in 2003. And basically that these bats, because of the way they live, are able to do this kind of swapping around of data in making these new viruses, right? So what we call gene swapping.
That's how I made a kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, basically
same
thing. She's just a little 8-year-old virus.
Mommy's little virus.
But that these viruses are just evolving over time. And in fact, groups that have been studying this have been predicting for quite some time that we were going to have a pandemic.
Yeah.
And that it was going to likely be a coronavirus. Which brings me to the fact that there are documentaries from like 10 years ago where literally my friend, Dr. Jonathan Epstein, and his boss are talking about how they predict there will be a pandemic and it will probably be a coronavirus. And it's very eerie to see that tape now in the context of what we know now, that they said this is what's going to happen. And it was no secret. They weren't hiding from anyone. Governments have had this information shared with them. Other researchers have had this information shared with them, that this was the worry and we have to stay out there looking, catching it early and warning people and trying to do the things we need to do to prevent people from getting exposed. Are you okay?
God damn it. Here I am saying, wow, that'd be a great show for Netflix. And I guess they've already done the shows. And then
60 minutes.
Weirdly, not enough people watch them because here we are.
Here we are.
God damn it.
Basically, the bottom line is that viruses like SARS-CoV-2, our COVID that we're dealing with now, is the result of human activity, not because of the animals. They aren't scary because they carry these viruses. We're scary because of our behavior, our activities, hunting, encroachment on their territories, exposing ourselves, and then bringing it back to the home front, right? We don't want to exterminate bats.
No.
We are 100% dependent on them for our survival, as I said, for pollinating, eating insects that destroy our crops. We would be in big, big doo-doo if it weren't for bats.
I think you mean guano. Let's be technical.
We would be in big, big guano without bats. Just a few other things. There are these other very cool research opportunities that can affect people. Bats don't get cancer.
Wait, what?
What the fuck is going on there?
Wait.
They don't get cancer.
Huh.
And they're extremely long-lived. For the size mammal, if you compare them to other mammals, they can live, like, depending on the type of bat, the size of bat, 20 to 30 years. And when you compare them to the same size other wild mammals, that is very long time to live.
Wow.
So there are opportunities here for us to understand ways we might be living longer, how to prevent or treat cancer. Very cool. But I also want to tell people that they should watch the movie Contagion. Did you ever see that movie?
No, because it's called Contagion. And weirdly, given the year that we just lived through, I'm terrified of pandemics and things like that. I'm more terrified of virus-y things than I am of... And I'm not a germaphobe. Like, I really ought to wash my hands way more frequently. I live with 2 animals who shit in a box. Like, none of that stuff bothers me. But the idea of, like, hanging out with another human who could make me ill by breathing terrifies me. And, like, all these stories of, like, from the 1950s on where, like, the mad scientist creates a virus and whoops, we let it out. Like, God, no.
Well, I am going to tell you something fun about the movie Contagion. It came out in 2011. It starred Matt Damon, Kate Winslet, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Lawrence Fishburne, and a number of other wonderful actors. Yes, it has all those elements of the things that you're saying you hate about a movie about a virus outbreak. But what's very cool is when they were putting this movie together, they wanted to make sure that the science made sense. They didn't want it to be gobbledygook. And so they actually used consultants, including my friend, Dr. Jonathan Epstein, to get the science right. And I am going to ruin this is a spoiler alert. I'm going to ruin the end because they modeled the cause of the contagion in the whole, however many hours the movie is, on an actual disease outbreak in Asia, where what happened was the pig farmers built their pig corrals further and further into the mango forest, where the mango trees, their fruit was hanging over the corrals. The bats were eating the mangoes because nom, nom, nom. Saliva from the fruit was dropping into the pig corrals. The pigs were eating the fruit, getting infected with the saliva. The pigs got sick, developed respiratory infection, and coughed up virus, which infected people and caused an outbreak and deaths in that region. And that's all based on a real event that my buddy John was involved in researching and figuring out what had happened, and then basically saying the solution is don't have your corrals go out into the mango trees, make sure there's no mango fruits hanging over your pigs, and then no more outbreaks.
Oh my God.
And they do that summary at the end of the movie, what happened, and that's all based on a real story and his work.
God damn it. So Dr. Epstein.
Epstein. I'm a Stein, he's a Steen.
Oh, God! That we have to cut and fix because I don't want to sound like an idiot. I'm happy to sound like an idiot in any other way. Getting people's names correct. Dr. John. Let's just go Dr. John. Virus hunter. I feel like there should be more hunting of virus. Where's the virus machete death? That part.
So this is exactly what he and his group do. And they have research teams in many countries trying to catch these viruses before their outbreaks, taking these blood samples from the bats and studying them and looking for changes. There really are all these people out there from various groups, not just his, but others, who are working very hard to try to protect us and
That's
really
so
are
cool.
out there in the field, in the lab, doing the work to try to give us the heads up.
Yeah, if we would listen.
Well, and certainly there is the combination of the problem of research funding. So when funding is not made available, it's harder to do the work.
Right.
But also governments listening and taking it seriously and stepping up and spending money on the prevention that's required.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about. Governments always, just take the best science and the best advice and behave accordingly. Always.
Correct. So fear not. The work's being done. It's the way that information is integrated into policy.
Yeah.
Whether that's here in the U.S. or all over the world, how governments and policymakers and research and scientists make good use of the information to protect us.
That's so cool. Like, I mean, like, all joking aside, like, I think that area of, like, going out there and doing the really hard work, when people say, oh, I researched it. No, they Googled it. They went to Yahoo questions or found some guy who made a meme on Facebook. But when we talk about research, it's really guys like Dr. Jon going out into these areas with machetes and doing the work and doing the blood draws and doing all the things and CSIing it, magic, jujitsu, whatever, to like really figure out the virology of all of this. Whereas, you know, you and I can sit on a podcast and talk about it. Yes. I don't know about you, how many machetes you've taken into like Southeast Asia. For me, it's been zero. No, definitely zero. Definitely zero. I had been wiped out by a plant in your backyard for a week because of pollen. Like, I'm not going out there like hacking down trees to try to find a bat and draw its blood and then do all of the back end stuff to try to figure out exactly what's going on and to predict an outbreak like the one that we are. Let's be real, we're still very much in this.
Yes.
Many people in the States are vaccinated, but like if you look at India, they're not doing good right now.
It's a mess right now. Not doing good.
It is a hot mess. And when you don't listen to the researchers, to the scientists, and because we're human and we just want to be human and our exceptionalism is better than nature, we get into this problem. So exactly. I'm glad Dr. Jon is out there doing this work. I don't envy his work, and I don't want to do his work, but I'm glad he is. And I would love to see his business card. Virus Hunter, Dr. Jon,
it's actually
Virus Hunter.
It's just some guano with his name scratched in it.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing! Please tell me that's true.
But I do want to reiterate that the bats are not harmed. There's a whole system for catching them in what's called mist netting, and they're very carefully removed so that they're not injured. They try to keep the stress very low and to release them as quickly as possible so they can just go back about their business. So it's very important to Jon that the message be about protecting these animals, not harming them, how important they are to us, and that in his work, they also don't injure the bats and they make sure they get to go off and eat more fruit and pollinate more flowers or eat more bugs.
Eat all the bugs. Actually, one thing that Ace wants to do when we ultimately get a house is build a bat house so that way they can like come in and sleep and do, I don't know, what about
That's perfect.
Be batty. Yeah, she wants to build a bat house and she wants chickens. And I can't argue with either of those.
Well, I will personally get her the information from the bat expert, exactly what kind of bat house you want in your future new house in the Northeast.
Wherever that is. And it better come on a CV with bat guano and a name sketched in it. Because he's a doctor. Well, are you ready? We're going to sit back and let me tell you not just about any brood X, the cicadas that are now emerging, but brood XXX. Because
Whoa.
these cicadas. Did you see this on NPR the other day?
I don't know. Tell me which one.
Oh.
Because they've been talking about the cicadas a lot.
Yeah, not like this.
Bring it, baby.
Because these cicadas are on some mad fungus that makes their butts fall off. And it makes them hella horny, which maybe some of y'all's personal college experience. But I'm just going to slide this in. Don't do drugs, kids. And if you're a kid, Why are you listening to this show? So Brood X, which I actually thought was Brood X, it turns out I've just been reading it. It's actually Brood 10. And I learned that from another podcast called Varmints, but it's Brood 10, not Brood X. But I liked my XXX joke, so for the purposes of this show, it's Brood X.
Totally.
Which honestly sounds so much cooler. So what these cicadas are supposed to do, wake up, shed an exoskeleton, be super loud for like 6 weeks, lay eggs, die, right? Pretty straightforward. But some of these cicadas have been infected by a fungus called Massospora, which creates a compound called, and I think I'm going to say this incorrectly, cathinone.
Okay,
It's
no, I think
basically
that's right.
an amphetamine. So cathinone, okay. Cathinone.
That's a type of pasta.
Cathinone.
I'm half Italian, and I've decided it's a type of pasta.
Well, maybe the cathinone is a pasta with amphetamine in it because it basically is an amphetamine. And I guess while cicadas were in underground doing like, I don't know, surviving for 17 years, they did not get the unsolicited funguses laced with amphetamines talk from their cicada dare counselor. So evidently this fungus takes over their cicada private parts and makes them horny, right?
Yeah.
They cannot get enough sex, which is weird because what this fungus does is it makes their abdomens fall off with their butt and their genitalia. They have the drive, but they can't make new cicada babies, so they're just around humping everything, and they don't have a butt. So if you look at where the fungus is, here, I can do a little screen share so you can see what this is.
So we'll put a link to this picture in the show notes.
Yes, but I want you to see it,
Yeah.
and I want people to hear you see this.
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Oh, are you? Are you now? Okay, so the title of this piece is "A Fungus is Pushing Cicada Sex into Hyperdrive and Leaving Them Dismembered."
There's a pretty cicada.
So here's the fungus. It's that white thing. So
Yeah.
it looks like if you think of a bee, where like the stingy bit would be, it's just gone. Like
It's just
somebody was
gone.
really bad at Photoshop and just cut it off.
Yeah, and it's kind of white or off-white, and it looks like someone took a knife at an angle and sliced through the butt end. He's gone.
This is body modification gone really wrong.
A little different than bleaching.
The fungus basically drives these cicadas to mate with everyone, and that's a quote from the NPR piece, which is a visual I cannot get out of my head. You just walk out and there's like 100 cicadas on your face.
Yeah.
Just like,
No,
hey. No. So the fungus causes different reactions in different kinds of cicadas, and I didn't realize this. So periodical cicadas, which take more than a decade between appearances, so like the ones that we have right now, Brood X, get sex crazy from this cathinone.
Right.
Cathinone. In yearly cicadas, the fungus makes them instead become hypersexual from psilocybin, which is the same chemical in psychedelic mushrooms.
Oh,
so these cicadas know how to party. I guess only about 5% of these cicadas are estimated to be infected by Massospora.
Hang
and
on.
As far as
I just have to say, are they sitting there going, whoa, dude, how many legs? How many legs? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. If you were on a psychedelic mushroom and you watched a cicada come out of its exoskeleton, could you even imagine what that experience would be like?
There'd be a lot of screaming.
So much. And from the person. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not comfortable for the cicada either.
So press on.
So as far as the expert in this NPR piece is concerned, he doesn't think that the bugs are in pain, which, given how horny they are, I'd guess not. The quote was, everyone's having a good time while they're infected. I don't think he knows how infections work. Okay, so everybody's having a good time while they're infected, he says, so I don't imagine there's much pain. Maybe a desire to listen to the Grateful Dead or something like that, but no pain. But I'm like, I don't think this guy is thinking big enough. I think what they're more listening to, based on what I've been reading about this like cicada sex orgy, is more of like, was it 9 Inch Nails? Like, I want to fuck you like an animal, or like something a little more upbeat. I don't think this is Grateful Dead territory. This isn't just like sit around and get stoned. This is these
more S&M.
Right? Like, oh, maybe.
Who knows?
Like, oh my God. A cicada with like all like the little leather straps and like one with like a little baby ball gag.
Tiny whip. And all those legs have like over the knee leather boots.
Oh God, the hands. I was just picturing like 6 whips, like just one in each hand. But I think these are more like they took a bunch of ecstasy or Molly instead of pot, which is what it sounds like. This guy's like, yeah, Grateful Dead. I'm like, he is not. No, that is not what he's describing.
So is this the males and the females that have this fungus?
Yes. And they're humping like there's no tomorrow, because I guess when you're a cicada anyway, like,
you got to get to
standard up. You got 6 weeks, man. You are on the clock. You have been sitting there for 17 years waiting for these 6 weeks. This is your time to shine. But this just kicks it up to 11.
Ay, ay, ay.
So yeah, sexy cicadas.
Sexy cicadas. So I'm thinking potential research.
New logo?
Oh. No, I'm good with our logo. I'm thinking potential research opportunity for human contraception.
Oh, but I don't want my butt to fall off.
Well, not you, but maybe just some people. Like, I don't know, that certain ex-boyfriend.
Oh, no. Side effects may include, oh, shit, my butt fell off. And oh, man, I still need to hump everything in sight. Like,
publicly.
Consult with your doctor if cicada fungus is right for you. Sip, we're at the end of the podcast.
Jeez Louise, where does the time go?
But we'll be back.
Promise? Promise.
Our music is by Jason Shaw with additional music by Ableton Live.
This week, our thanks go out to Dr. Jonathan Epstein, veterinarian, master's in public health, PhD, and virus hunter extraordinaire, for giving me a tour of bat immunology. And to NPR, CBS, and Twitter in general for Brood XXX content.
Also, my personal apologies to Dr. John. You can find more on our show notes or visit our website, totallypawsomepod.com, and on our Twitter @PawsomePod.
And now all that's left is shameless self-promotion. Melissa, bring us all of that Melissa-ness.
I am a certified professional dog trainer outside of Boston, Massachusetts, the author of Considerations for the City Dog, host of BewilderBeasts. Gasp! Another podcast for curious folks. But unlike this, it is totally safe for work and for all ages. You can find more about me and my projects, speaking engagements, classes, presentations, and more at melissamchugh.com. Take it away, Sip.
I'm a veterinarian who loves to work with exotic animals and dogs and cats in and around Oakland, California, the operator of Zuzu's Puddles Productions, and when I'm not treating chinchillas, rock pythons, and sulfur-crested cockatoos, you can find me strumming my ukulele. You can find more about me and exotic pet care at drsipvet.com. That's DRSIPVET.com.
Beautiful enunciation. You can reach us both at totallypawsomepod@gmail.com. Send us your topic ideas, questions, or send us bizarre and silly animal stories, including those not ready for Little Billy's grade school science final project. Think more along the lines of giant freaking testicles of magic and dog trainers gone wild. Hopefully not in the same story. It doesn't have to be R-rated, but it helps.
So that's it. That's the end of the podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening. Hug your pets if you've got them.
Unless you have a pet scorpion, in which I can professionally advise against it, because I just don't.
And respect those possums. Or as we say, stay possum.
Stay possum. Melissa is this amazing dog trainer, podcaster, and author in Somerville. Why can't I say Somerville anymore?